It would be probably one of my favorite brands of all time. It would be just do it.
Mm,
Nike has one of the greatest slogans of all time, and I believe that's one of the things that holds people back is they question everything about themselves. And if you just did it, you would take so many more leaps, have so many more experiences, and be better off for it. 20 years from now, it's not the things you do that you're going to regret, it's the things that you didn't do. So just do it.
You're listening to the Real Business Connections Network. Real Business Connections Network. Powered by Balbert Marketing, LLC. Subscribe now and check us out at realbusinessconnections.com. Enjoy the show.
Welcome everyone to Learn, Speak, Teach, powered by Balbert Marketing, LLC. If you love to learn, be inspired, and succeed, we're here to speak and teach. I'm your host, Ben Albert. I believe if you're not living, you're dying. If you're not growing, you're withering. And if you're not engaged, you can turn this off right now. Because we here at LST are lifelong learners. And listen, I'm not your guru. I'm an ordinary guy on a journey to learn from the experts. My goal is to host each conversation with a beginner's mindset. Learn and let the experts speak and teach their truths. Join us! Oh yeah, and don't forget to subscribe. This episode is brought to you completely free. Get some stake in the game here. My fee for the show only takes a few moments. If you gain value from the episode, personally share with a friend and explain your favorite part. Bonus points. Please leave us a review on Apple, Google Podcasts, or anywhere you listen to the show. All right, let's get started. Let's go. Welcome everyone to Learn, Speak, Teach on the Real Business Connections Network. I am here with the business bro, Hernan Sias. Hernan, what's up, man?
What's up, my brother? Ben, welcome. Thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to be on your show. I mean, I had a blast talking to you on our show.
So much fun. And as we're recording this, it hasn't came out yet, but I'm going to replay that on my show. So I'm kind of talking. It's weird when I pre-record because at this time, if you go into the feed, you can listen to me on Hernan's show, Business Bros. Had an incredible time. Dude, you make people feel like a celebrity, man. You made me feel like I was a rock star, dude.
You are a rock star, man. Like, dude, I feel like everybody in this world, okay, the world doesn't revolve around me, right? But in our own minds, we do think that, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you're waking up to try to survive in your own life. So if somebody takes the time to recognize your greatness in this world, you like them, right? And that's really what it comes down to. When you're meeting people, you want to build trust and relationships. And how else do you do that? You can't do it selfishly. You got to be able to give first.
You've got to be able to give. And when you're doing it, and I know you do this in a genuine way, like you want to make people feel like rock stars, you want to make them look good, you want to promote them, you're coming from a genuine place. Dude, you're like a magnet, bro. You're a magnet,
Thanks.
man. And so Business Bros Podcast, you guys are just under 1,000 episodes. So you're doing work, man.
Dude, we're good. We hit the ground running since day one, though. Even though at the very beginning, it sucked. I mean, if you go listen to episode 1, it's not very good. It's kind of trash, right? But everybody starts somewhere. And we committed since day one that we were going to do this every single day, 5 days a week for 3 years. July will be our 4th year. So it wasn't until this year that I started taking a little bit of time off during these weeks. But for the most part, we're still doing 5 days a week. You know, we're still hitting the ground running. Our show books out 10 weeks in advance. There's no other medium that I've ever come across where I get to talk to a business owner every day. Not only is it a potential prospect, but like we were saying before the show, it's somebody I can learn from. I mean, I don't know about you, but learning something is probably one of the greatest things that my mind loves to do. Sometimes it might be learning how to play a video game. Sometimes it's going and escaping into a Marvel universe, learning about that space. But our mind wants to learn things. And what great opportunity I've had to learn from entrepreneurs, which is the thing that it's like my buzzword. You start talking about business, you're not going to shut me up, right? But I get to listen to other people who have other perspectives, who've gone down different roads, who've made different mistakes, who've had great success. And I get to sit here and learn from them. I mean, dude, that's amazing. The fact that I'm getting to 1,000 just means I've learned so much from so many people and I've met so many new people. To me, that's already a win without even adding in any dollars.
Hundreds of great people that you learn from, 1,000 experiences to learn. Dude, we were talking beforehand. I'm like, we got to click record because we could just go all day. I want to use every minute with you as possible. I skipped the bio and I actually don't want to change energy and go to the bio. I want to give you an opportunity just to introduce yourself. So you're Kick Butt. You have Business Bros podcast, nearly 1,000 episodes and counting, 5 a week. Where did you start, though? Tell me a little bit about like your success story, your history. I know you weren't really that fortunate when you were younger, so walk me a little bit through that.
Yeah, man. The only thing I knew about money when I was a kid was that we didn't have any. That was the only thing, right? Dad, can I get this? We don't have any money. Right? Can we go here? We can't afford that. That was usually the perspective that we got. It's not that we didn't do things. We just did a lot of the free things in life, right? Or the very inexpensive things. But my dad knew that there was another opportunity out there. And one of the things that I'm super grateful that he did was right as I was graduating high school, he hired a financial advisor to come to the house. And she sat down and she basically said, hey, pull your bank statements out. Let's look at stuff. And she gave us a perspective in business and in life opportunities that I didn't know existed. Right. And I think that's one of those key factors that most people don't understand is that there's so many opportunities in this world. And a lot of the times you don't know what they are because you've never been exposed to them. So, that allowed that one meeting. She set us up to buy a house. And at 20 years old, my brother and I bought our first house. Right. Mom and dad helped co-sign and James and I were working at the time. We bought our first house. We rented out the rooms and it was our first step into this space of adulting, our first space into investing and learning and being in this business space. Shortly after that, we started this computer repair company and it was doing okay. We started to venture into a little bit of marketing. And by that, I mean, we printed flyers and we handed them out door to door. I mean, nothing complicated, but that's what we did. And mind you, this was back in the early 2000s. So Google is new to the space. There's no social media around. And it's funny because thinking about where I am today and where I was before, I was having this conversation with my brother yesterday. I was like, I'm trying to think at some point in my business career, I got a sour taste for advertising. And one of them was in this very first business that I started. You see, we were handing out door hangers to grow our computer repair business, and it was working really, really well. And then we tried to scale that. And so we started to invest in these little, these penny savers, this little weekly newsletter that goes out and you usually see it in your junk mail, but our ad would show up there and it was doing okay. And so we wanted to expand even more. And then we signed up for these things that if you're young, you're probably not gonna know what these are, but we signed up for the Yellow Page advertising. And the Yellow Pages were like a Google book of businesses, essentially, is what they were.
That's that book that you use at the campfire when you're trying to like start a fire, right?
Yes, exactly.
That big thick book of numbers. Yeah, got
exactly. But it didn't work as well because it's a big thick book and you're one little line in a big thick book. Nobody really finds you there, right? I mean, they do rarely on occasion, but for the most part, it wasn't working. And the downside of that is I got stuck with an annual contract for multiple books. And that's when I started to get a sour taste in my mouth for advertising. After that, after that business, I had a game truck, which is a 32-foot trailer, TVs inside, video games. We did kid birthday parties. And again, I got hurt in the marketing and advertising side because I started advertising on what was new at the time, Groupons and Living Socials and those types of platforms. And those were great for our exposure, but they would eat up 50% of your revenue. So, our parties were $300 for a 2-hour party, of which I would only get 150 because the marketing team would take another piece, right? The advertising cost. And so like slowly but surely, I got into this space where I don't want to do advertising. I don't want to do marketing. My reputation will take me to the next level, or at least that's what I would tell myself in my mind. I since then started a tax practice, started an insurance agency, got into real estate, and every single one of those ventures, I would struggle. I would get to a certain point and plateau because I wasn't advertising, I wasn't marketing. And so I got to a point where I started listening to content, and I bumped into this guy that most people know. His name's Gary Vee. And I started listening to his content. And he said, look, no matter what business you're in, you have to be a media company first, everything else second. And so after hearing it over and over and over again, I decided, you know what? Okay, I'm going to take control of my advertising. I'm going to take control of my marketing, and I'm going to become a YouTuber, because that's what was popular at the time, right?
Yeah.
Little did I know it takes like 8 hours to edit a 5-minute video, right? Took forever, and I wasn't very good at it. It was a steep learning curve. I wasn't, fluent in any of the softwares. I didn't feel like I was very creative at all. So I decided to go into this podcast space because I wanted to hide behind a microphone where you couldn't see my face, in a space where I can speak and then go back and edit so that everything I put out into the world was absolutely perfect. And then the world would find me. Right. That was my thought at the time. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to do this every single day for five days a week for 3 years. And my thought was, the sooner I get to 1,000, and at the time, Joe Rogan was a top podcaster. The sooner I get to 1,000, like Joe Rogan, I'll have millions of followers myself. Right. I mean, just do what the others do, and then you'll have the same exact results. Well, didn't quite pan out that way. We're approaching 1,000. I don't have millions of followers, but I've become something completely different, right? I've taken my confidence level to way up there. I've created a brand. If you Google Business Bros or you Google my name, it's page upon page upon page of content. I've been able to meet 650 different entrepreneurs in this space. All these things have come because I've committed to becoming a marketer, to becoming my own brand. And from there, the referrals started to come in. Right now, I'm to the point where we get fed. People hit me up and they're like, hey, do you still do taxes? I'm like, yes, let me connect you with my tax pro. Do you still real estate? Yes, let me connect you with my agents. Are you in the insurance? Yes, let me help you here. Hey, can you help me create, content for my social media? Absolutely. Let me show you how we've been doing it. But it didn't happen until I committed to making myself better. Right now, I can look at other marketers and say, hey, what are you up to? What are you doing? That's amazing. I love what you're doing. I love how you're doing it. And instead of me doing my own fulfillment, I can now speak that marketing language, or I can speak tax language or real estate language or all these different things. And so having a conversation on a podcast, that got a lot easier. And now it's just one of those things where I use it as a value add. So now we use podcasting as a prospecting tool. And here's how it lays out, Ben. You tell me what you think, because you're in the very similar space. I have a 30-minute interview with a guest, right? And then we take that 30-minute interview and we chop it up into some pieces. And this is what we're doing with our insurance agents. So an insurance agent meets with a client. They do 30-minute interview real quick. After that 30-minute interview, we break up the content into a couple pieces. We post it on social media at a scheduled time, so that now that insurance agent not only started the relationship for that 30-minute interview, but now 2 days later, they have a post where they can reach out to that same prospect and enhance the relationship. 4 days after that, they have another one. 10 days after that, they have another one, and so forth. And now that person knows who you are. They know what you do. They know you care about them because you constantly put out their content, not your own. Yeah, it was your recording, but it's their voice, their image, them talking. They're going to love you, right? That's the relationship. That's the value add that that podcasting can give while you're prospecting. That's what we're doing right now. And it's been one hell of a ride. And I still feel like I'm just getting started, Ben.
Drop the mic, pick it back up because I have more questions, but drop the mic. Dude, I couldn't agree more. I'm wondering, so I'll tell you this transparently. I didn't go to school for marketing. I didn't go to school for recording technology. You didn't either, right?
Nope, my degree's in accounting.
Okay. So you learned by doing it.
Yes.
Let's talk about more. Go on, please.
Yeah, man. And I didn't know anything before. Like, people are like, hey, I like your microphone. Where'd you get it? I went on Amazon and I literally said podcast kit, right? And I looked it up and they were like, do you want 2 mics? Do you want 4 mics? Do you want this? And I was like, I don't know. I just want to interview people. 2 mics. Well, there's 2 of us, so we're going to need more than 2. Let's get 4. And I clicked buy, right? And the equipment came in. It was a couple mics, a stand, a little audio interface, and we were rolling, right? Plug it in, little YouTube videos, and go. Now, after that, I realized, wait, where does it actually record to? And then I had to do a little bit of research, right? I'm like, oh, okay, now we can use Audacity or GarageBand to record our stuff, right? Okay, great, I got it. Now, how do I actually use it? Oh, another YouTube video, right? Now it's time to learn that piece. And that's the step-by-step. Like when I first got started, I knew nothing, right? I mean, structuring a show, for example, having an intro, having an outro, what's your outline? Do you even say it at the beginning? Like everything, every single question or every fear that you have before you get started, I had it too. The only difference is I did it anyways, right? Because putting your content out there, being vulnerable and putting it out there, everybody starts at zero and everybody sucks at first. But as you approach a problem, you have two choices. You can confront it and learn and get better, or you can run away from it, never approach it. And of course, you never learn anything. And in this case, we decided to move forward. And I'll give you a great example of how we did it on the show. My son came up to me when he was 8 years old. We're about 30, 40 episodes in. And he goes, hey, Dad, I noticed that on your podcast, you say a lot of and Ks after every sentence. And I was like, oh, didn't notice that, right? Because it's me. I don't notice it when I say it. But other people will notice it. So James and I grabbed the glass jar. We gave each other a pile of quarters. The glass jar got its own microphone. And live, as we're recording, anytime I heard him say a filler word or he heard me say a filler word, we drop quarters into the glass jar. And you could hear it on the show. And actively, as we are doing, we are perfecting our skill, right? We're getting better as we do it. We practiced what we preached. And no matter what it was like that, whether it was creating content clips afterwards or figuring out how to transcribe your episode or figuring out how to put it on Facebook and put it on YouTube and move things around, like everything was something that I didn't know about, but it didn't matter because I was going to learn it. I was going to get better at it. And now I sit back and it's funny because I talk to people all day long, right? Different peoples in different worlds and different aspects that want to do content at the level that I'm at. And to me, it's second nature. It's so easy. I'm like, oh, it's easy. You can do this, right? But I realize that it's easy for me because of the practice. And so I got to step back and as I'm teaching people, I got to step back and create a framework. And this is step one. And then, learn how to do this. And now we can move into step two. But it's possible. It's totally doable. And we live in an age where if you don't know something, you can do a quick YouTube search and there's instructional videos right there. That's something that I didn't have growing up. Growing up, Ben, and I don't know how old you are. I'm assuming you're at least 30 plus, right?
30.
And so
30 plus, so 30. So yeah.
30, there you go. But growing up, I didn't have the internet. I literally, if I didn't know something, too bad. Go to library and read about it and try to learn it. But otherwise, you just didn't know. Right. Today, there's no excuse.
No.
You can't use the excuse, I don't know how, because there is a video or there is an article or there is something that can teach you. It's you're not willing to, not you don't know how.
You know where you're at these days, brother?
Where's that?
Unconscious competence is where you're at. So anyone listening, they have the drive. They know what they should do. It might not be start a podcast. It might be start a new entrepreneurial endeavor. They have the drive. Having the drive and being conscious of your incompetence is a great place to start. Because then you go and you do what you and I did. What I did is I probably have about $500 worth in gear that just has a bunch of dust on it because I don't use it, because I'd purchase something, it would be bad quality, and then I'd use it anyways, and then I'd upgrade, and then I use it anyways. Honestly, if I had went back I would have just made the correct purchases from the front. But I was unconscious. I didn't know what I didn't know. I was just making mistakes. So you got the unconscious competence. Then you've got consciously competent, where you know the stuff. That's where I feel like I am a lot of the time. I am in awe. You're hitting this level where your conviction and your competence is so high that it's unconscious. And you didn't get there overnight. You got there in almost 1,000 episodes. So let's talk about that grind, because I know when I was on your show, I had no clue until a day later I'm on Instagram and you're all like getting over COVID, feeling a lot better. And I'm like, this guy had COVID? I had no clue you had COVID when I was talking to you, right? Do you burn out? Where do you get that drive? Like, you're only human, right? Talk a little bit about that.
All right. So first and foremost, I have this weird thing, and everybody has it. Some people have it at different levels, but it happens to everybody. Something happens when the mic and the camera goes on. For me, right? I'll give you a story. I had this guest on the show, right? And in our show, we don't really do pre-interviews. Like, if you are an entrepreneur and you want to be on my show, great, let's sign up. It's 10-week waiting list, but let's sign up and let's talk. And so not every entrepreneur is designed to speak, right? And at the very beginning, we were doing in-home interviews. Like, it's at my house. My podcast studio is at my house. We were doing in-home stuff. And I had a guest come over and they were super excited. They were ready to be on the show. They'd been listening before. They were ready to go. But as soon as I turned on that switch, their questions, I was like, so, hey, tell me a little bit about yourself. I'm happy to be here. Right. And that's it. Right. Like nothing. And it's just nerves. Right.
Sure.
Well, after I get them talking for a while, and what happens at that point is I got to learn to tell stories myself. Right. I got to learn to fill in that dead air. That's not the easiest thing in the world to learn to do, but I got better at it just because we were practicing. So now I realize as I'm listening to myself, early on in the episodes, I'm like, dude, you sound boring. So I would purposely turn up the energy when my camera goes on, when my microphone goes on. You know that saying they say that the camera adds 10 pounds? Yeah. Well, I think the microphone takes away your energy at the same level. So even though you feel like you are excited, you got to do it over the top for it to come out effectively on camera. And what happened as a result, I was doing it just for myself, right? But as a result, the guests would come on and get a little more excited. I'm talking about them, asking them questions about them. So they would get a little more excited about what we're talking about, right? Because all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, I am pretty cool. I have achieved that, right? And it works on every level. Yesterday I was talking to somebody, another marketer, and they're basically their pitch was, do you want to be a celebrity? And I was like, ooh, I want to know more about this. And I clicked on that, right? Yeah. And of course, I'm sitting there with the marketer and he comes on the call. And the first thing he says is like, hey man, to be honest, I don't know if we can actually help you. Everybody I talk to is down here. You're way up here. When I Googled you, like, dude, you have all kinds of content. You're way ahead. Your foundation is laid out amazingly. Like, what do you need from us? And that idea of what do you need from us? I think that is that imposter syndrome in all of us. I know that I've done a lot, but I'm nowhere near where I want to be. So I think of myself down here. And I got to turn up the energy all the time. And I want to improve myself all the time, right? But I know I'm going to make it. And that knowledge of I know where I'm going, I know I'm going to get to the point where I'm talking to business owners every day. And like I told you, I have a tax business, I have a real estate business, I have an insurance business. My goal is to be a very good marketer, to have a database of all kinds of great entrepreneurs that I've done nothing but bring value to. And when I get ready, I'm going to turn around and say, hey, business owners, you guys need help with your taxes? You should trust the business bros. Hey, you guys need help with your insurance? Work with the business bros. And hopefully my goal is I've set those all up at a point where I've built enough trust with my entrepreneurs, my businesses are functioning in the right spot, that I've created a brand that is trustworthy and people want to do business with, right? That's really what it comes down to. But it starts with me. So if I don't bring the energy every day, if I don't show up at the 110%, how can I expect my guests to have made, how can I expect to have made an impression on my guest? Something that lasts for a long time.
Dude, long-lasting impressions. And that's what you do. I mean, so what you're doing is you're creating a center of gravity around you that people know you're well connected. You have multiple businesses. You have answers to questions. But the one thing that isn't beyond me that you're doing is before you're creating that center of gravity around you, you're actually creating it in yourself too. You're grounding yourself. You're coming in with energy. I know personally, man, I'm a quiet guy. I'm a soft-spoken guy. I'm mellow. People say I'm kind of zen. I sometimes get joked at. Oh, Ben, I love your podcast. I go to sleep to it every night. I'm like, I like the compliment. That means I got a nice voice. But yeah, again, imposter syndrome kicking in. But I like to try to match the energy of when I'm a guest, I want to match the energy of my host. I want to serve their audience. And one thing I noticed right away is you brought my energy up. And when my energy got higher, I actually felt better. I could feel it in my body. And I'm a chameleon. I want to match my host. I want to match their audience. And by you bringing that energy, you transferred it, bro. And you probably do that for a lot of your guests. And that's, again, that magnetic. But, well, I'm going on tangents because there's one thing I really wanted to talk about. Omnipresence, like 5 days a week, multiple clips, everywhere, always. Like, obviously, for a lot of people, that sounds a little overwhelming or like burnout. But talk about omnipresence and being everywhere and the importance of that and the value that brings to you and your brand.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So the way I've always been told or explained that social media, the way it works, right, is it's very simple. You are literally, every time you swipe, it's like you're going down the street. I like to think of swiping as the lines on the road, right? That every time you're driving on the road, you see another line, another line, another line, another line, right? That's the same thing that's going on through your content. The only difference is every time you're swiping, you're seeing a billboard. It's somebody's billboard, whether it's them, riding their bike or a guy falling down or something that you're learning. It's a billboard. It's something that's grabbing your attention. And the winner in this space is the one who shows up the most in front of you, because our mind will remember it. They're like, oh, I've seen that guy. Where have I seen him before? Oh, I've seen him. Oh, I recognize that guy. Right. And that's the key. And for me, entrepreneurs are all over the place. I know entrepreneurs who spend all their time on TikTok. I know entrepreneurs who spend all their time on Snapchat. I know entrepreneurs who spend all their time on Facebook or Instagram. It's what your preference is. So if I want to show up to entrepreneurs, I need to show up where they are. I can't expect them all to come to me. I need to put myself where they are. So we put ourselves on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Twitch, on all these platforms as much as we possibly can, because I want to show up as often as possible. I think business cards are a dead cause. So instead of using a business card, where are the eyes at? The eyes are on social media and in the comments. I saw this shirt one time that said, to the comments. And that's the funniest thing to me. And when I saw that, I was like, you know what? There's a lot of people who will watch a post that's interesting and go to the comments. So I started doing something a little bit different. I created meme cards of myself. I have pictures of me like pointing up, left, right, making faces or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so now when I see a cool post, something that I'm going to comment on, I go to Canva real quick and I say what I'm going to say instead of in a post, create a little thing and post the picture of myself saying that instead of a regular comment. So what does that do? It takes a little bit of extra time, but now everyone in the comments sees me on top of the person who I'm commenting on. Be as present as possible. Show your face or your brand as often as possible. It's the only way that you're going to make it into whatever it is that you want to make it into. Like distribution was a problem when, Dr. Dre and Snoop were around, right? It was hard to get an album to go out to the mass public. Distribution was the thing that you had to get to make it happen. Today, distribution is no problem. We have zero barriers to distributing our content in any way, which way or form. The problem we have is making it, right? And so there's really two ways that you can do this. One is you can document, which is probably one of my favorites. And I even struggle with this one myself. Like just in your day, what is it that you've accomplished? What is it that you've learned? And just hop on at that moment and say, dude, I just went through XYZ. I learned XYZ. If you're interested in learning some of this, maybe either hit me up or here's the link or whatever it is. And just constantly doing that, right? Constantly getting out and documenting what you're doing. The other way is to create content for other people. And that's what I'm doing with the podcast. So I know that creating content is difficult. So if I invite a business owner to come on my show, I'm literally creating content for them. And they get a taste of how easy it is to actually do this because we offer a service that's done for you, right? We'll literally do this for you and put your stuff out there. And it gives them at least that little bit of taste of, oh, okay, creating content's not really that bad. And there's somebody who does it every day. I can learn from that person. All right. But how did that happen? Yesterday, by the way, Ben, I got gifted a weight set, like bench, bars, weights, pull bars, right? Yeah. How did that happen, dude? It happened because every day after my 6-mile run, I post and I say something. I post about my health because I think it's important for me. And I talk about that constantly. So when this person was ready to get rid of their equipment, who did they think of? The one who shows up on their social media feed talking about health all the time, right? That's the power. That same thought process that works with all different things. You choose what you want to be in life, right? People, I hear this content conflict all the time. Well, I don't want to post because I don't want people knowing what my business is all about. Well, cool. Guess what? People only know me for the Business Bros podcast and my health stuff. That's it. They don't really know about my kids' lives. They don't know about my spouse. They don't know about anything going on in my life other than what I want to show them. And that is the image that you get to create. This is what you get to develop. This is who you are online. And it's your choice of what you want it to be. So if you're in business and you're not posting content, you are invisible. But if you continue to post content, you become visible. And if you do this on a consistent basis, people know that they can find you. They know what you do. That means you are credible. And if people trust you, they're more likely to do business with you, which means you will become profitable. And it's a journey. You can't go from invisible to profitable because nobody trusts you and nobody's going to buy from you. There's a path that you have to go on. And if you do it the way I do it, it's a slow path because I didn't have any help. Or you can do it the way a lot of other professionals do it, which is hire a coach, take that learning curve, hire professionals wherever you need to go to cut that learning curve way down. But you still got to go from invisible to visible to credible to profitable. It's just a shorter time frame that you can do it in.
Yeah, and you hire someone to help. I mean, you could hire Hernan and his team. You could hire me, and you could just sit down on the mic and talk, and then walk out on your merry way and have someone manage it for you.
Yes.
But you're so right. I mean, visibility, reputation building, trust, authenticity. But authenticity doesn't mean, hey, I'm taking a poop today. Look at me taking a poop. Like
Right.
you don't have to show pictures of your kids. You don't have to talk about traumas. I mean, do it if it serves you and it serves your audience, but you can choose, right? So it's about being omnipresent and putting content out. It's about being authentic. We don't have to show our dirty laundry either. Now, I think this is really valuable what you're saying because, the guy giving you the weight set, gifting it to you, you had a relationship with them. In this scenario, just out of curiosity, were you guys friends or was this just like an audience member? Just out of curiosity.
No, I know. We're definitely friends.
Which
so
is
so it's definitely a thing. But
that was
I'm
just
not
a curiosity question. It really means
definitely
nothing.
friends.
Because at the end of the day, you're building friendships, you're building relationships. And I want to dive in. So we focused a lot on audience there. So the audience can see you, they can follow you, they can stay up to date, they love you, they trust you. And the moment that they need something, they know that you're the person to go to. Now, let's talk about the other leg here that you kind of touched in the front here, prospecting with your guests. Because I'll say this transparently. So I did a 22 episode launch in November 2020. That's how I launched my show. I did what you're doing. I did 5 episodes. I did an episode a week for an entire month. I don't know how you do that for longevity, man, because I was burning out doing that. The more I got clients, the more it just wasn't sustainable for me. But I did a 22 episode launch. I had no business connections. I had no clue what I was talking about. All my equipment stunk. My editing stunk. My questions weren't good. Like, I did everything wrong other than the fact that I went and I did it. And within those 22 peoples, I have a best friend. I have a partner in a networking group. I have 2 to 3 clients, and I have another friend that's given me 5 referrals. These people probably know who they are. I do the same for them because now we have a relationship. And there's 100 more examples by now. I'm over 100 episodes, right? But that all stemmed from 22 episodes of not knowing what I'm doing. So talk a little bit on your end, one, the prospecting end, but the relationship, and I want you to spitball and rant on the value of meeting all these great people and the value it's brought into your life, man.
Yeah, man. First of all, how do you do it? Every day you eat. Right? There's a spot in your day where you go and you eat. All I did was make a spot in my day to do the podcast. Right? So commit to yourself, first of all, that this is the time that you're going to do it. Our show is every single day, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then our premium starts are 1 p.m. And that's it. That's the only spot in my calendar that I do not skip on. And that's how you get it done. First of all, Ben, commend you, dude. Just the fact that you did it. I mean, you can't give yourself more credit than you deserve. This is huge. The action to me is always the most important part. You're not going to know what you don't know, but you learn if you take action. So dude, kudos to you for that. Okay. So the relationships and the podcasting prospecting, I experienced, especially in real estate, I was doing door knocking, I was doing cold calling, and I just felt uncomfortable. And people didn't really want to talk to me when I pick up the phone. People didn't really want to talk to me when I knock on a door. And it just made me uncomfortable. That's not the kind of salesperson I really wanted to be. I didn't want to interrupt and kind of be that way. You do need to interrupt in advertising, period, but that's just not the way I wanted to do it. And so I decided to find another way of doing it. Asking people to, hey, can I pick your brain for like 5 minutes for a cup of coffee? It wasn't my style. Most people said no. But when I switched over to doing the podcast, now it was a little bit different, because now my pitch wasn't, can I pick your brain for 4 or 5 minutes? It was like, hey, I got this podcast. You want to come talk about your business on my show? And then, maybe some of my audience will reach out to you, or even better, at the end, I'll give you the full audio, full video, and it's your gift to use however you like. You can use it for your social media feeds, right? I'm bringing value. I'm giving them something. Now, all of a sudden, I wasn't getting 5 minutes. I was getting 30 minutes, 45 minutes. And I was able to learn from them. And I think that's really where the enthusiasm and the excitement comes from, because they opened my eyes to something. I'm like, oh, I didn't know about that. I didn't think about it that way. That's a great perspective, right? All of a sudden, I'm learning things. I want to learn as often as I possibly can. So I would reach out to more people, and the ask got even easier. As you started doing more and more podcasts, means you had more episodes under your belt, means people could find you a little bit more. When you're asking people for episode 1 and episode 2 and episode 3, they might, do you a favor or whatever. But now when I'm in episode 900 and something, like literally people who I don't know, podcast managers, entrepreneurs from all over the world, they're finding me and reaching out, and then they're paying to be on the show because we're 10 weeks to be booked out in advance. Like that is amazing. And it's nothing that would happen at the very beginning, but the relationships have been even through the roof. There are so many people that we've had on the show that have sent referrals, not show, but to be paid versions of the show, or to be customers on the show, to buy our testimonial packages. And it's awesome, because at the end of the day, my thank you to them, aside from, maybe if I do a commission split or something like that, is creating a content piece talking about how amazing this person is, which is what I was already doing anyways. It's creating content.
Right.
Oftentimes people don't really want the money. They want the thank you and the recognition, and to tell them that, you are an amazing individual. I really appreciate you making the connection with me. And the person they made a connection with, they're grateful as well, because now they're getting the content that they're looking for. They're getting the exposure. They're getting the experience. It's a win-win scenario all the way through. And it's drastically changed my life. There's something that's I guess a little egotistic, but it really does feel good. One time I was at Starbucks, and I was ordering my Starbucks drink. I was meeting a client there, and somebody comes up to me and she goes, "Hey, are you the business bro?" And I was like, "Yeah." She goes, "I recognize your voice when you were ordering." And that wasn't the first time, and it won't be the last time that happens, but that feels really good. And then, she goes on to tell me, "Hey, I was new to San Diego. Somebody recommended your show. I really learned a lot from this person, and I really learned a lot from this person." And that, to me, is one of the, one comment like that would last me enough energy for like a whole year, because I know it's made an impact in somebody's life. I've helped change somebody for the better. And that, to me, that's huge, right? I don't know how I could do. I always thought I was going to be a doctor or something someday. I was going to help people some way. I didn't know it was going to be with my voice. I didn't know it was going to be with, my creating content and meeting other entrepreneurs who are actually like-minded. They're just maybe a little bit smarter, maybe a little bit more experienced, or maybe have a different perspective, but it's making a difference in what other people see. And because of all these experiences, I have become much more educated. And dude, I don't know. I'm hoping at one point I get to a spot where I'll go out to dinner and the owner comes up and is like, no, you don't have to wait. Come on in. Like, I know who you are. Come on in. Like, that would be ideal for me. I would love to get to that level. And maybe at some point in the future, it will get there. But in the meantime, every interaction is valuable in and of itself. I mean, Ben, you were on my show. I get to come on your show. We get to talk marketing. We're in the same space. And yet here we are able to learn from each other. How cool is that?
All day. And I love collaborating. And part of why I wanted you on is I enjoyed being on your show. We have a couple mutual friends. I want to replay me on your show, on my show. Collaboration is key, man. We might be partners down the road. You never know until you have that conversation. And I don't think you're being arrogant or braggadocious. I think it's really humbling, that moment when you realize that you really helped move the needle on someone's career, you change their life. And if you're like me and you're kind of modest, it's like there's two sides to the coin. You can be famous and people are coming up to you, high fiving you, and that is great. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't know if I want to be famous. You can still be micro famous. You can still have 1,000 best friends. Imagine if you had 5,000 best friends that all spent between $100 to $1,000 on you a year, and you got to do something you love and have fun the entire time. Like, does it actually get any better than that, other than being famous if you want to? But it's like, you get to choose, right? You get to choose.
Exactly, dude. Exactly. And I like that idea of micro famous, by the way. That's one of the things that I really thought, if I can be famous just right here in San Diego, my hometown, that would be ideal for me. And then, things morph. That's the other thing about podcasting in business, right? Things change as you go along. When I first got into podcasting, I thought, I'm going to do this. It's going to be my real estate podcast and I'm going to sell tons of homes, right? But as I grew as an entrepreneur, as I learned from different entrepreneurs, it shifted. And now I take real estate stuff as a referral base. I'll do some listings, but most of the buyers I refer out to other agents. And I've really dug deep into this advertising and marketing because I know that it can not only help my businesses, but that's where I make the biggest impact with people. I mean, at the end of the day, every entrepreneur that comes on the show has a product or a service that they are trying to get out to the public. That is why they're on my show, right? That's it. They need to promote their stuff. That's what they're doing there. So how can I make the best possible episode to promote what they are trying to sell? Right. That's the question I ask myself all the time, right? How do I make this better? How do I make this better? How do I make this better? How do I provide value for them? What is it that they're looking for? And how can I provide that at the lowest cost possible? Right? That's what I'm constantly journaling about. I mean, I got pages and pages in my journals of different ideas and concepts, and I try some stuff and sometimes it works and sometimes it falls flat on his face, right? But we adjust and we modify and we keep going. And that makes a big difference for me.
Dude, when you're promoting someone, letting them pitch themselves, letting them talk about it feels good. I love talking about myself. I'm an oddball, right? So I don't like to do podcasts to pitch. I'll even say I'm an ordinary dude. I'm just learning. I don't want some big lengthy bio. It's all just BS. Let's just have a conversation. But why I like doing podcasts is I can hone my message. It's something you talked about before, being in that level of conviction and certainty where you're umming and ahhing far less, where I'm not trying to pitch your audience on Business Bros, but I know that day when I'm pitching an investor because I'm leaving my company, I'm experienced, man. I already know what I'm doing. So just having the opportunity to talk, and this is a call to action for any entrepreneur, business owner, anybody out there. Do you understand your why? Can you tell a story that correlates to the why? What's your vision for the future? How can you help? It doesn't have to be transactional. Who do you know? And if you focus on these things, it doesn't matter if you're a podcaster, a blogger, it doesn't matter. If you can focus on those things, the moment you have a conversation, you're just going to radiate good energy. Now, I'm digressing because I just love, man, just shooting the breeze with you, man. But the one last question I kind of wanted to ask you is, I know you're booked out 10 weeks plus in advance at all times, and that's 5 shows a week. That's more than twice than I do. I'm booked out kind of that long, but not really, and you're putting out 3 times as much content. Is there a secret sauce we didn't talk about? Is there something extra special that we haven't brought to the table that allows you to ultimately, 1, book out that far, and 2, at times your guests actually pay to come on the show? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, man. So when I first started, it was very much me doing the inviting. So the secret sauce to that was really simple. Whenever you get somebody on the show, the last question I would ask them was, who do you think would be a great guest to have on the show? Right. And of course, everyone would always talk about their boss or their mentor or somebody else. So I went really quick from having, somebody that I knew as a friend or whatever, to having people who own magazines, who own major brokerages, to own all kinds of cool things, because everybody tags up, right? Everybody wants to give somebody else a good experience. So that's the first way we started getting people to come on the show. Then there came like a lot of these podcast platforms. Matchmaker.fm is one of them, where you can go in, you create a profile for your show. You can go in and create a profile as a guest, and it all it does is merge people together, right? People who want to be on a show, people who have a show, and it puts them together. And I got in really early in some of these platforms and paid for their next level, which is like their pro status or their elite status or whatever it is. And it was relatively inexpensive, a couple $100 for some of them, $100 for some of them, for them early on. They're just trying to get their funding to grow their platform. And it benefited me tremendously because now, especially like on Matchmaker, my stuff shows up all the time towards the top. And so people find the show there a lot as well. I also started making network connections with people who are podcast agents. So these people literally go out, find entrepreneurs and book them on multiple podcasts. And so I would make a relationship with a lot of these podcast people, and they would start sending me more and more people on a regular basis. And so adding all those different levels made it, and then of course, on top of that, trying to make the show as fun as possible so people have a good experience. All those things combined have led up to the point where we're just constantly getting emails. I mean, it kind of sucks, but it's funny. Right now, I get emails that say, "Hey, I'm looking at your calendars. There's nothing past June." I'm like, "I'm sorry, we book out 10 weeks in advance, but you can do the premium version and skip the line." Right. And it sounds like kind of like, "Oh, you want to pay for a podcast?" No, but you might want to pay for mine because this one's the one that you want to be on. This is the experience and the type of podcast that you want to be on. So, I mean, check out my YouTube channel. This is what it looks like. This is the experience. This is what you get. Let's do it. Right.
Well, and don't sell yourself short because you're providing an extra level of value with animations. It's live animations, music, YouTube thumbnail, different cover arts. Like you're doing everything. Whereas if someone comes on your show, it's not like they just talk, you know. Sometimes it's literally like there's no camera and you just talk over the phone or something. It comes out on an RSS feed, 10 people listen to it, and then poof, it's gone out into the ether. Coming on your show is content for weeks, right? Yes. Coming on the show is literally, I mean, it's a 30-minute episode, but it's structured so that each question that I'm asking you, I mean, it's segment clipped so you can create clips if you want really easily. And a 30-minute episode can easily be at least 30 pieces of content. Easy. And that's something that you can post every single day. So if you wanted to create a show, you don't have to be as crazy as I am 5 days a week. You can do one a month. We have clients that record with us one time a month and we create their content for the entire month from one interview. Mm-hmm. So, you know, the capability is there. You don't have to do as crazy as us or, you know, once a week or twice a week or 5 days a week, once a month. You just need to show up. Nobody knows that you recorded it one time. I mean, it doesn't really matter. You can dress it up with cover art. You can dress it up and create an audiogram out of it. And there's a ton of things that you can do with your long form content to create small form content that goes out everywhere. And here's the thing, it lives forever, right? So one of the things that I tell people about creating a podcast every day is literally my great grandchildren could be watching this right now. Right. And they're going to look at me and say, look, that was great grandpa. Look at the energy he has. Look at his charisma. Look at what he sounded like. Look at what he thought about. Right. This is what he believed in. It's literally me recording myself. You talk about wanting to leave a legacy. This is your legacy. It may not be millions of people like Joe Rogan that watches, but it's your legacy and it will live on past whatever happens. If a meteor falls on my house today and I die, there's almost 1,000 episodes plus clips and content of who I was. I don't die. It's my way of being alive forever, right? And so putting your message out there, that's what it could be. And if you take it, at least at the very beginning, that's where you can start to leave a legacy for yourself. And it can grow into other things. It's a blessing that at the beginning you suck and nobody's listening. Because this is where you're developing as an individual. The first like 60, 70 episodes, nobody listened but like my mom. Right. But that's OK, because I wasn't very good. Now, when people listen, they're not hearing episode 1. They're hearing what my developed version of myself and my message and my voice and my enthusiasm and my show production and all that. That's where you want to get to. But start somewhere. Like take action, man. Make it happen. In worst case scenario, you made your mama proud. And what else could you want to do to make your mama proud? But no, I could not agree more. Dude, as if the conversation felt rapid fire as it is. I could just go all day with you, but we're going to go to the rapid fire round. Short, sweet, fill in the blank, either or questions, cross it out and ignore it. Up to you. We'll get started with coffee or tea.
Water.
Water, beer or wine? Probably water again, huh? Dang.
Water, but beer, I guess I'd go with beer.
Cats or dogs?
Cats.
Favorite season?
Summer.
Let's do favorite social media platform. Do you have a favorite spot?
I spend most time on Instagram.
Give me as many as you'd like. Guests from your show that you just like left and like you couldn't sleep at night. You're like, wow, I just feel so grateful that I had that conversation. Does anyone come to mind?
Yeah, one. Ollie Awad, right? He's a young personal injury attorney in Georgia, and he said something to me that changed the way we do things. He said, "You guys have a great show. You have great energy. You should be famous, but you're not. Why? I don't know your finances, but I bet you're not spending any money on yourself." And that was absolutely true. We weren't spending any advertising on ourselves. It was all organic when we started. And that shifted the way I thought of things, because it wasn't advertising to get something. It was advertising to build my brand. And that was one of those things that stuck with me forever. Changed the way we did things going forward. After that, man, we do awareness campaigns and ad campaigns and retargeting stuff now because it makes a huge difference. But then it didn't.
It's a huge difference. I got one more question for you before we go there. If someone wants to be on the show, listen to the show, work with you, get to know you, follow you, all of the above. Do you have a hub? Do you have any recommended resources? What should I do next, bro?
Yeah. Our website is businessbros.biz. Our social media handle is @businessbrospod. And that's the best way to reach out and talk to me. If you have any questions, shoot me a DM. I'm a fan of a video DM, by the way. So if you hit me up on social, I'll send you back a video message because it's me. Like that. I want you to know that it's me talking to you and nobody else. But yeah, man, reach out. I'm here to answer any questions you have. You have something like, hey, what should I do? What's the dimensions on my Instagram post? Or I don't care what it is. Send me the message. Let's have a conversation.
Guys, do it. Do it. And I was stumbling when we started because I didn't know when I would release the podcast of me on Business Bros. I've decided now that'll come out on the Sunday before, so you can scroll back to a couple episodes. You can hear me on the Business Bros. You need to make sure you go to subscribe to Business Bros as well. Do not just hang out here, hang out there as well. One more question for you. You mentioned how social media is like you're scrolling through billboards, you're scrolling through ads, you're scrolling through content that's sometimes boring, sometimes great. It's all across the board. Now, if we could just have it on a constant pause, or the analogy I like to give is a billboard on the side of the road, and it's so large that everyone on Earth's going to see it. So all languages, all genders, all kinds of people are going to see this billboard. So if we had a billboard side of the road or just paused on our phone where every phone saw that all at once, what would you put on that billboard? Why would you put what you put up on there?
I think it would be probably one of my favorite brands of all time. It would be Just Do It. Nike has one of the greatest slogans of all time. And I believe that's one of the things that holds people back is they question everything about themselves. And if you just did it, you would take so many more leaps, have so many more experiences, and be better off for it. 20 years from now, it's not the things you do that you're going to regret. It's the things that you didn't do. So just do it.
Bro, I appreciate your time. I know you're busy. You got to run off to an appointment. Thank you for hanging out. Get your ass out of here. I'm going to have you on again. Guys, listen to the previous episode of Me on Business Bros. Make sure you've subscribed to the Business Bros. Thanks again, man, for coming on, dude. It's been fun.
Thanks, man. Always a good time with you, my buddy.
Thanks again for listening to Learn, Speak, Teach, powered by Balbert Marketing, LLC. You need to go subscribe if you haven't yet. This show is completely free. If you gain value from the episode, personally share with a friend and explain your favorite part. Leave us a review on Apple, Google Podcasts, or anywhere you listen to the show. All right. Thanks once more for listening to LST. I am so grateful. Talk to you soon.